Let's, before we do anything else, reflect on last night's action. And Qarabağ, well, they'd already beaten the likes of Eintracht Frankfurt and Benfica in this season's Champions League to earn their place in the playoffs. But Newcastle went to Baku knowing their hosts could be vulnerable defensively. And so it proved.
As Byrne plays it forward, here's Gordon now, right foot shot, buries it! Newcastle take the lead, only 2 minutes on the clock. That is just the start that Eddie Howe and his side and all of these Newcastle fans here in Baku wanted to see. Kieran Trippier's ready with this corner. Newcastle players massed at the back post. It's dummied on the edge of the area. Tonali with a shot, but that's blocked on the edge of the 6-yard area. Back to Trippier on the left, right-footed ball into the back post, dangerous, headed down and across and in! It's 2-0. Chow at the back post. Brilliantly worked by Newcastle. And already, Qarabağ 0, Newcastle United 2 is the score with only 8 minutes on the clock. This to really drive home Newcastle United's advantage. Still early in this tie. Gordon just shrugs his shoulders. Arms down by his sides. Takes a big deep breath. He's ready now. Right-footed with a penalty. And an excellent penalty. High above the dive of Kachalski to his right. With Harvey Barnes given away. And Gordon's in again for the hat-trick. Round the goalkeeper and stabs it in. It's 4-0. And Anthony Gordon has a Champions League hat-trick here in Baku. Gordon waiting. The last one went to the goalkeeper's right, taking his time as he likes to do. And here he comes now, right-footed, gone the other way and ended up in the net as well. Another excellent penalty. Kachalski guessed right again, went to his left, but it was high above him into the net. What a first half in this Champions League knockout playoff tie Newcastle United have had here in the Azerbaijan capital. It's 5-0 and Anthony Gordon has scored 4 of them. Corner taken short. Tepeguliev shoots all the way in. They've got their goal. It might well have been deflected past. In fact, the offside flag is up. Yeah, the Qarabağ players are. Oh, the goal's given. The goal stands. Well, that was a strange one. He was onside, Tepeguliev, scoring from a very tight angle. I think Nick Pope might be a little disappointed with that. I don't know whether he took a deflection on his way past him. However, Qarabağ 1, Newcastle 5 now. Harvey Barnes gets it down and plays it out to Jacob Murphy, involved in the match for the first time really. Left foot shot, deflected up and in! Over the goalkeeper's dive. Jacob Murphy will claim that. It was on target. It took a flick. Qarabağ 1, Newcastle 6.
Yes, a thumping victory for Newcastle. I sat and watched it in the studio here with Ando and Steve. Well, we weren't particularly impressed with Qarabağ in the first half, but Newcastle did a proper job on them, didn't they?
Absolutely. I mean, it was just... it seemed to be every single time they were attacking, they were causing problems or possibly score. I was somewhere else. I was at Wolves, Arsenal yesterday. You're just talking to different people who were watching the game. Obviously, I'm busy. I'm doing bits and pieces, and they were saying it's 3, but it could be 6, and then it's 4. It could be 8. It's 5. It could be 10.
Yes,
and it was just one of them. I mean, obviously, you see the goals going in. I mean, ultimately, if you're going to be a little bit picky, you'd be disappointed with the goal that you conceded. But at times, you're watching it, and I'm thinking, how are they getting to the place where they are? When you consider how hard Newcastle have worked to be in that position, although some unlucky results, you're just thinking, wow, they drew against Chelsea. They've had a couple of other decent wins against good teams, and they looked as though they've never played together. They just looked devoid of ideas. But that's no slight on Newcastle. They had a job to do, and they did it. And wow, I mean, those fans that did make that long journey. Absolutely well worth it. Fantastic results, and a one where you're thinking, pretty much 99% they're into the next round.
99.999, I reckon. Eddie Howe was delighted with the performance. He wants to build on it.
My hope is that it just reaffirms our belief that we can be an outstanding team. When we're at our very best, we can be a match for anybody. I've always maintained that this season that we can be. It's, of course, finding this level as much as we can, as consistently as we can. I think you could see the intense focus from the players was there from very early in the game, and then we've got the quality when we're in that kind of mood. I think it's a really useful time for us to produce a display like this, to hopefully just tell ourselves that we can be a top team again.
But Eddie Howe says despite the margin of victory last night, there won't be any complacency in Tuesday's second leg at St James's Park.
We knew with the travel and the distance of travel, it was going to be a really tough tie for us. And yes, we've had a good game, but we take nothing for granted in the second game. We fully respect Qarabağ. We know what a good team they are. I've watched them loads in preparation for this game. They've got some very good players. We will take the second game very, very seriously.
Which is an interesting comment to make, because obviously next Tuesday affords them the possibility, at least, Steve, you would think of, leaving a good few out and resting a few, because when you've got a 5-goal advantage against a team that isn't that great, let's be honest, it'll be fairly straightforward to see it out, won't it? So I wonder what he will do in terms of the team.
Well, I think the manager's right in some respects. I don't think you can take your foot off the pedal. I think you've got to make sure, listen, he could start with a strong team, bang another couple of goals in and then make some changes. You don't want something where all of a sudden it kind of gets away from you or being a bit nervy when it was very, very comfortable. Obviously, he'll not want injuries and stuff like that, so he'll have one eye on that. He's kind of sometimes damned if you do and damned if you don't, but I'm pretty sure he'll pick the right team.
Yeah.
Whichever team does start, just try and make sure keep it at 0-0 or try and get a couple of early goals, like properly kill it off.
Yeah, so you don't think he'll sort of think about playing... I mean, Alex Murphy's someone that might come in the back line. He has got a bit of first-team experience, but he won't be looking at giving Sean Neve a start or anything like that. You don't think he would go that far?
I think you've got to be careful you make too many changes and then you haven't got that kind of consistency, you haven't got that continuity, and that can cause some problems. And I don't care who you're playing. It could be a non-league team that can cause you problems. So I think he will make changes, but I would have thought he'd make a couple for the starting lineup, and as the game goes on, see where we are, and then make some changes then.
Qarabağ, after their disastrous first half, did pull a goal back in what was a quieter second half.
Qarabağ played slightly lower and got more men behind the ball. Naturally then makes it a slower game and less opportunities for us, and they went more direct with the ball, so less opportunities for us to press the ball in their build-up. So I think a combination of those two things and maybe a bit of fatigue from us meant that it wasn't such a good second half performance. It always makes me sad to concede any goal. Yeah, we were disappointed with the goal we conceded because at that stage of the game, I still felt we were the dominant team, but we switched off momentarily. I need to review the goal back and see its construction and see where we could improve.
And what a night it was for Anthony Gordon. 4 goals in the first half, so that's 10 in the Champions League now this season. Only Kylian Mbappe has more goals in the Champions League this season than Anthony Gordon. And on top of that, he's now Newcastle's all-time leading scorer in the competition because he's overtaken Alan Shearer.
Yeah, good. I want more goals. I should have had more goals tonight, actually. Should have scored 6. I missed 2 really, not easy chances, but chances I should score and normally would score. So good to get 4, but I should have had more, I think.
We're going to hear a bit more from Anthony Gordon later on the programme, but here's Eddie Howe on the 24-year-old winger who has become, at the moment at least, Newcastle's main centre-forward.
I think he's been really good in that position. Looking back to the Liverpool game where I thought he was excellent, he scored. He's really, I think, shown that he wants to play there, which is hugely important, and then he's got the qualities to play. I thought his pressing today was incredible for us. I think that gave us the platform to build off of the back of his work, and a lot of high-pressing regains, a lot of counter-attack opportunities for us, and of course he's taken the 4 goals and we'll get the headlines naturally, but I thought his all-round game was really strong.
I mean, he's a player that's taken some stick this season, Anthony Gordon, Steve. I'm wondering whether now that he seems to be accustomed to the role that he's playing, the more central role, whether it could be something that he continues to do.
Well, it looks like it. I mean, as you see, you look at the forward line, and of course the manager's got players on the bench that are suited actually to sort of playing up front. Obviously, he has Voldemar playing that little further back, but he's got something which defenders hate. I mean, you can be a very, very good player, but if you're not the quickest, then there's other little things that you have to worry about. But when you've got a player that's got natural pace, even if they haven't got the quality, they're a threat and they're difficult, and defenders hate it. But he has got both. He is somebody that has got quality, but he has got the pace as well. And of course, that's been proven where slight mistakes or when he's running at you, it's difficult to handle. But he's in that position. It'll be interesting to see if the manager sticks with him from now to the end of the season in that position, though.
Indeed, yeah. He's got a another decision to make, I guess, when he's got Wissa available, and obviously Voltemade can play as a striker as well. We'll talk about his role last night in a moment. There was an argument between Kieran Trippier and Gordon before the second penalty. Trippier says it was a disagreement over who should take it because he wanted Gordon to give it to Nick Voltemade. This is what Eddie Howe had to say.
Anthony naturally wanted to take the second penalty, and I understand why there's a debate over it. Sometimes that's not clear when there's two in one game, but he took both penalties superbly. I'm pleased with that, and I think Kieran's only ever trying to help the team, so I think it's a positive situation rather than negative.
Yeah, it all felt a little bit bizarre, Steve, didn't it? But I guess you can understand why Trippier might have wanted Voltemade to take it and build up his confidence a bit. But if you're the penalty taker and you've already scored 3, you're still going to want to take another one, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand where Kieran's coming from, but at the same time, if you're Anthony Gordon, you tell him to go away, but you're not using those words. Believe me, when I've played with centre forwards, and I mentioned something like Shearer, even if it was 10-0 and there was another penalty, he's taking a penalty. He's a goal scorer. That's what they do. Yeah. I've got no doubt Gordon will be looking at that table and see Mbappe and then his name. Now he's got the record. He's got the most goals in Europe. That's why, because he wants to take the penalties. You look back at it when he's probably finished football and he'd go, I wish I took that penalty because I would have been there rather than being all dead nicey. I mean, yes, you're friends and you want to do well for your team and your teammates and stuff like that, but ultimately he wants to put himself and his name up there because he's got a big end of the season coming his way because, he wants to be not only in the England squad, but trying to be in the starting position.
Now, as I mentioned, Nick Voltemade continued in his new midfield role. Eddie Howe is using the German forward slightly differently.
We've just rotated positions. The system that we're playing is the system that we've played really consistently for 4 years here, but the personnel is slightly different. So we played Voltemade slightly lower and Anthony higher. I think naturally you then see different strengths in the players. Anthony's running ability and his pace, and Nick's technical quality is so high that it's been an interesting change for us.
Do you feel the system's working, Steve?
It's coming along okay. I think it helps Valdemar, because I felt as though sometimes when the ball was going up to him, if he's the main man up front, whilst at times he was holding on the ball, it was too many times he wasn't. Whereas in the position that he's at, he's kind of on the half turn, which makes it a little bit easier for him. We all know he's got the ability, but it's definitely helped him. I think he'll feel more comfortable there because you hear stories about he's unhappy and stuff like that because players do get unhappy when things is not going well for you, or you feel as though you're being bought for a lot of money, you're not in the team and all that kind of thing. But Eddie's given an opportunity to play in this position. Up to him now to grab it, because if he doesn't grab this position, then he can find himself, or Newcastle can find himself, with a very expensive player that just has not lived up to the expectations.
Now, Newcastle will be without Malik Chow for the second leg because he is suspended. That means Howe doesn't have many fit centre-backs.
I see that as a negative because we're really stretched in that position. Of course, it gives us no debate. We have to give Malik a rest. He's probably been in need of that for a while. So in some senses, that could be a positive for him, but I don't think it's a positive for the team.
Yeah, so running a bit short of defenders for next week, which is why I mentioned Alex Murphy earlier, who's played at left back when he's come in the past, but he's a centre half really, so he might get his opportunity on Tuesday night. Steve,
right? Yeah, I mean, as I said, I haven't got a problem with the manager making some changes, but it has to be just a couple of changes, in my opinion. Listen, if anyone wants to make 10, then make 10. He's the manager. But as I said, these are the problems which I mentioned before about what you come across. But I think that the lad, if he does come on and play, he'll want to be with the team that's a solid team. Lads that's played there week in, week out, has to have the experience of the Champions League, gives him a little bit more comfort, gives him a bit more support. So, yeah, there's an opportunity for the likes of him. Maybe he's one, possibly another. But otherwise, I would be cautious, trying to keep it at 0-0. If you can get another couple of goals, then try to look at maybe bringing another couple of players on.
Now, 18-year-old striker Sean Neve has been a regular on the bench over the last year, but he's never got on. But he finally got onto the pitch last night for his Newcastle debut. He was introduced in the 87th minute.
Yeah, he's deserved his appearance. I think he's trained really well with us. He's always got a goal in him, Sean. He's got a great attitude first and foremost. I'm very pleased for him and his family that he's got his Newcastle debut.
almost scored as well. One opportunity looked to be coming his way, and then it just deflected behind him. He was in a great position, and he probably would have scored. But nonetheless, Steve, a great experience for him.
Oh, absolutely. I think when you make your debut at any level, it's a very proud moment. Oh, wow, where'd you make your debut? Oh, the Champions League. Well, top players don't get to play the Champions League. It's up to him now to keep the pressure on, to keep training hard, to making sure he's knocking on the door all the time. Because we do see a lot of players, we all have, that make the debut and then everybody's like hoping for the best and just doesn't materialise. But looking at him, the lad looks decent. He looks hungry. I'm sure he's got a very supportive family around him. And let's hope he can go from strength to strength.
Now, Joe Linton made his return after a 6-match absence. He had a groin injury, but he's back now, came on in the second half. So that's a bit of a boost, Steve, as well, to see him back.
Of course. Obviously, you've got the big game on Saturday as well. Whether he starts in that remains to be seen. It's a big game for both teams, obviously.
Yeah.
With City, because of the result yesterday with Arsenal, they'll want to push forward and trying to close that gap to 1, I think it is.
Absolutely, yes.
But a big opportunity for Newcastle as well. So, as I said, I think on the show last week, I was saying, for Newcastle, from now until the end of the season, they've got to start picking up results if they want to try to sneak into those Champions League places, possibly, but certainly one of the other European spots.
And Newcastle's FA Cup 5th round tie against Manchester City will be the Saturday night game, which will please Ando, won't it? We know how much he likes Saturday night games. So 8 p.m. game on Saturday, March the 7th. That has been decided today. Elsewhere, Newcastle-wise, the former Newcastle defender Habib Beye has just been named the new manager of Marseille. He recently left his job as the head coach of another French club, Rennes, and he replaces the ex-Brighton boss Roberto De Zerbi, who was in charge of Marseille when they beat Newcastle in the Champions League in November. Habib Beye played for Newcastle between 2007 and 2009.
Total Sport North East.
Call free 0800 234 6565.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Yeah, we'd love to get you on the show this evening. That's the number to call if you prefer to send us a WhatsApp message, 08000 321 333. And you can send a text on 81333 in either of those cases. Start your message with the letters BBC. Let's have a chat then, before we go any further, to Nickel, because Nickel was on the line from Baku on Tuesday. Here we are now on Thursday. Back home, Nickel, I assume.
Yes, hello. I'm almost back home. I'm currently in London at the moment, catching a train in a couple of hours to go back home.
Because you were, didn't you say you were going to be leaving just a few hours after the final whistle had blown, straight back to the hotel and straight to the airport? So you've been pretty much travelling since the game ended, have you? Yes,
I had a couple of hours after the game and then headed to the airport at about 4 o'clock in the morning, local time. And then the flight was at about 7 in the morning to Istanbul. And then from Istanbul back to London. And I'm just at a friend's house at the moment for the afternoon until I get the train home.
There we go. It's an epic journey, Steve. You've got to admire the dedication, don't you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I kind of go around the country to the different games that I have to go around, whether it's that or when I'm doing dinners and stuff like that, and then I'll be in these areas. And sometimes you don't realise how far these are, but I'm just talking about in this country. So when fans go abroad, like the kind of places which the Newcastle fans were yesterday, which are a little bit obscure. I mean, I absolutely, for all football fans, I absolutely take my hat off to them because I think it's such a commitment. It's such sort of love for the club. I mean, I can imagine it's absolutely brilliant as well when you get them like they did yesterday. But also, you look at the other hand, it's a long old journey back if they don't get the result. But you've got to admire their sort of commitment to the whole cause.
I'm sure, Nickel, there's been some away trips and you think, why did I bother? But not at all yesterday. I mean, when you were watching those goals fly in the first half, it must have been a brilliant atmosphere. Oh, it was unbelievable. I think definitely the fans were singing it all game. It's the best trip we've been on. I think it probably was. To see your team 5-0 up at half time
be in no danger of the other team coming back. It was just unbelievable. And I think they set the tone early with the pressing and getting the 2 penalties as well. So no, it was a brilliant match.
And the atmosphere as well, it sounded good the night before the match when we spoke to you. I guess it was just as good in the build up to the game among the Newcastle fans, was it?
Yeah, it was just the same as the day before, really. And I think I managed to get to the stadium area quite early. And I think the atmosphere outside the stadium between the 2 sets of fans was all in good nature as well.
Yes.
I think they, like I said on Tuesday, I think I got the impression that they were just happy to be in the competition. So their fans were just almost wishing us luck in some kind of weird way before the game. So It was all very friendly. But yeah, it was good atmosphere as well.
Good stuff. And Daryl in colour coats has sent a message. He's a friend of yours, I believe. He says, he says, ask him about who he met over there. What happened? I don't know what he means.
Yeah, no, it was just met some of the locals. They're all great people.
All right, okay. You're keeping it at that, are you? What happens in Baku stays in Baku.
He's just winding me up, I think.
Is he? Right. Fair enough. Well, glad you enjoyed it, and it's you're off to Man City at the weekend, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes.
There's no let up, Steve, is there?
No, I'll be there as well.
Good stuff. Yeah, but you weren't in Baku,
so. But, no, I wasn't at Baku, but I was at Wolverhampton Wanderers yesterday. I didn't get back till 20-3. I'm absolutely shattered. It wasn't, but I was driving back. I'm not going to obviously compare it because it's miles away, but at least you can maybe get some shut eye on a plane. You can't have your car when you're driving.
Fair. No, I'm glad. I'm glad that you didn't while you were driving. Nicol, pleasure to speak to you. And yeah, I'm sure we'll speak to you again with further adventures. Who knows, next round, and I'm assuming that they're going to get through with the margin they've got. It'll be either a trip to London or Barcelona. So that's slightly more manageable, isn't it?
Yes, I think. Yeah, like I've said before, I think the fan in me probably wants Barcelona, but I think from a football perspective, I think we're more likely to get through if it's Chelsea.
Let's do a couple of the messages that you've been sending in before the news, which is coming up at 7. William is a Newcastle fan. He's in Washington. He says, great win with the game over first half. Gordon was superb. We need that form in the Premier League. And Nick Voltemade looked much better in midfield. Nick can't press like Gordon, which changes our whole team dynamic. So is midfield Nick's best position, or will Howe persevere with him up top? Should the manager persist with Gordon as centre forward? Asks William. You think he will, Steve?
Well, I think we've kind of semi-touched on this earlier on. I think at the moment, I would have thought yes, but then you've got somebody on the bench or somebody to come back and Wissa that'll be chomping at the bit, and he'd want to get game time because otherwise it'll have been a miserable season for him if he doesn't get some more game time, and he doesn't. Listen, you give him game time, but he's got to grab it with both hands. He can't just give him game time and have what, is kind of being produced so far by the lad. I think the lad's a very good player, but he's just found it a little bit difficult so far since the injury. But, Gordon, as we said earlier on, he seems to be thriving up there. Defenders hate the pace. When you've got Barnes on one side, or whether it's Murphy, whether it's Alanga as well, that pace terrifies defenders. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't. And as I said, I think Voldemar himself in that further deeper position, he's then not thinking, I have to break my backside to get in the box, because he can break his backside all he wants. He's not getting in the box. If the wingers either side are bombing forward, you ain't catching them unless they pull it right back out. But yeah, and it helps Voldemar, I suppose, because he is neat and tidy on the ball. And it might just give him that little bit of room rather than dealing with defender, right in behind him, another one right next to them, and maybe he's a midfield player dropping in on him just in case he just takes that touch a little bit, his touch is a little bit too big. So the manager, because of these performances, has got a problem to solve. But in all fairness, it's a decent problem to have.
Brian says, on Tuesday, I messaged about Ando's team that he picked and suggested that Gordon would be up top with Barnes on the left. Eddie got the tactics spot on. Gordon was brilliant. His best game up top, and Voltemada played very well linking up in midfield. The opposition was poor, and I'm not sure that setup would work well against a top Premier League team like Manchester City. Bill says Joe Linton was a record signing as a striker who struggled up top but has been a revelation since moving to midfield. Voltemada, another record striker signing, has also struggled and is not a forward who looks like he can lead the team up top in the Premier League, but he's looking good in midfield. So will Eddie convert him to a midfielder full time, asks Bill. Percy's in Spennymoor. Back in the 1970s, says Percy in Spennymoor. Back in the 1970s, I was in goal for Oxclose Junior mixed and infants. We weren't very good, but we'd have beaten Qarabağ, says Percy. Wasn't too impressed with the opposition last night. The half-time boys have been on. Like a lot of other mags, I'm sure, I missed Razor's dulcet tones last night during the match. Could the Beeb not afford to send him, or did they not trust him with the cheap beer in Azerbaijan? Bit of both, half-time boys, frankly. But we were grateful to...
Go on.
We were grateful to John Murray for his commentary, which we shared with our colleagues at BBC Radio 5 Live last night. Go on, what were you going to say, Steve?
Yeah, I was going to say, just when we did the little bit with the commentary of the goals going in, it's not the same.
Yes.
It's not the same.
I know people like
I've got no doubt the man doing it is
Razor.
very good, but it's not Razor.
Razor will be back on this show tomorrow, and he will be back commentating at the weekend. You can rest assured.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Right, let's hear a bit more from Newcastle's Champions League goal machine, Anthony Gordon. I mean, the 4 that he got against Qarabağ made him the Magpies' all-time leading scorer in the competition, and his 10 Champions League goals this season is a tally only bettered by Real Madrid's Kylian Mbappe, who's, I think, on 13. So he's obviously got a chance to close that gap a bit more in the second leg against Qarabağ. And Gordon has been speaking to the BBC's Chris Sykes about his goal scoring and the way that Newcastle have bounced back from a bad run of results.
It was incredible. I think from what we've been through the past couple of weeks, everyone kind of given up on us, making our life really hard. We've shown great character, 3 great away performances and 3 big wins.
I was going to say, because this is sort of, you're coming off the back of a great win at Villa. I mean, the mood must be really high in the dressing room.
Yeah, it is, but also to go the other way. When people are down on you and you do well, they then get really high on you, and it's up to us to just stay in the middle, stay level, because football changes really quick, so we don't need to be too confident. We just need to keep doing what we're doing, which is working really hard for each other.
And just tell us about your feelings after getting 4 there.
Yeah, really happy. A good night, good individual night, good team night, and one I won't forget for a long time. But look, it's my job to be clinical. I'm judged on goals, so it's going to work really well for me. Thankfully, recently I've been playing well and getting the end product to go with it, so I do like playing in the position. I'm always confident, I always back myself. I love playing number 9, I've said that a lot. I think the perspective early on of me playing that position was it wasn't working, which I didn't believe, I didn't think was true. I think I was playing really well, I just weren't getting the goals, and ultimately as a striker, that's kind of important.
His commitment has recently been questioned a little bit, Steve. No shortage of commitment, it seems, last night. And maybe things haven't been going all his own way, particularly in the Premier League this season. But you would hope that he can translate this form, the form that he showed last night, into Premier League matches now.
He's kind of come out with his interview and he's quite bullish, which he's every right to be. But at the same time, there was a there was a bit of time when his performances were not what they should be. He was kind of, getting to good areas. Final ball wasn't great, losing the ball. You can't, sort of point the finger at his commitment and stuff like that, and he's chasing down and all that kind of thing. But that's probably one of the first things that you should be doing, regardless. So obviously the quality that we know that he's got was lacking. We just need to get what we know he's capable of, because we know he's capable. He's a good player, no doubt about it. But you just need that consistency. Newcastle fans need that consistency, but he needs the consistency not only for Newcastle, but he needs it massively for himself. As I said before, he needs to be catching the eye of the England manager. Is he going to be in the squad? You would have thought yes. Does he start? Not too sure at this moment.
So there's a big incentive for him, certainly. And Morris is on the line. Morris is a Newcastle fan. How are you doing, Morris?
I'm doing very well after last night's result, thank you, gentlemen.
Yes. Yeah, what did you make of it, Morris?
I mean, well, you've obviously sort of waxed lyrical about it on your show already, but nobody thought we were going to get 6 goals over there. You know, we're hoping to get a win, but 6 goals, and hats off to Anthony Gordon, because I think that record will stand for years and years and years now. I really do. And I think that, that's a hell of an achievement for him. It's not easy scoring goals, let alone in the Champions League, and he's done it just about in every game. So hats off, yeah. But I've been saying for weeks on the show that it's all about confidence, and 3 away wins is brilliant in any sort of shape or form. So, all good at the minute. Big test on Saturday, though.
Oh yeah, there's a big test on Saturday. All right. I mean, I think the stats for Newcastle against Man City are pretty poor. But coming away from Qarabağ yesterday, that's got to fill them full of confidence. Obviously, I think will you get a little bit of nervousness from Manchester City because of how close they are now, or how close they can be to Arsenal? If I'm being honest, and I do work quite a bit for Manchester City, I mean, I would like to see Manchester City win the league. I really do. I really would, above Arsenal. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't because they would like to maybe change, but I'm not a big Arsenal fan. But I can see still, even though Arsenal slipped up yesterday, I can still see City slipping up the odd time towards the end of the season.
Somebody said that to me today, that every time Arsenal have a slip-up, Man City do as well. So the pressure's on them. But never mind Man City, we've got to go down there with confidence. I know we've got a terrible record, and we normally get a bit of a hiding, but we've got to go down there with confidence after the last 3 results, and we're scoring goals. And I just want to touch on what you've also touched a little bit about Nick Voltemade, and somebody's just texted in and said the same thing about Joe Linton, which I was going to say as well. Nick Voltemade, we bought him as a striker, and everybody said as soon as he came, he's got great hold-up play. I thought he was superb last night. His feet, for a big fella, were incredible, and he linked up so much, and I think that's the ideal position for him. I think when Wissa comes in, they'll put Gordon back over to the left, and I honestly think we'll see a lot more of Nick Voltemade at the number 10, because I thought he was really, really good.
Well, it's pleasing to see, because I remember doing this show a while ago, and whilst I thought Newcastle had a decent starting 11 and a couple of good players in the squad, the squad for me was nowhere near strong enough. Now, it could be a lot stronger, don't get me wrong, but I think the manager's got options now, and it's good to have those options with quality players, because there is some quality players in that squad now. You've got obviously the 2 young lads, the fullbacks, Livramento and Hall, but obviously you look at Miley as well. Maybe there's another couple of other young kids coming through who Pridey mentioned early doors, but obviously the other pros, the more senior pros if you want. It's nice to have that on the bench, so the manager's going to have you kind of look at the bench, and then he's going to go, I've got some decent options here. So whilst it's going to be a difficult decision for the manager to make, that's a good position to be. Really good position to be.
And he has got options, but he hasn't got many options at the back. That's the worry, because obviously Man City can score for fun. We're quite solid, but if we get another 1 or 2 injuries, we are in dire straits at the back. And I know Malik Chow's going to miss the Qarabağ game, which shouldn't really matter. But it's 3 games a week and all that travel. Yes, I'm talking about confidence, and we've got to go there with confidence. But it's the physicality for them. Trippier's 34, 5 or whatever he is. It's got to take a toll. And Man City's squad's like twice the size of ours. But listen, you never know in football, and I'm quietly confident we can come away with something.
Yeah, I think when Pep Guardiola doesn't like a big squad, never has, because he doesn't like kind of not putting a lot of players, not even in the squad. That's why he does like the smaller squad. So he has got the 25, like everybody else, but at the same time, the quality's all the way through. I think is really the one. I mean, the best squad for me in the country is Arsenal's by a country mile. But yeah, I mean, as you said, for me, I just think Man City will give you a chance. Sometimes I've seen them this season, and they've been fantastically good. And at other times, they've been so poor for a Manchester City team. It's been surprising. And you know, what you sort of said there, every time Arsenal sit up, City seem to slip up. And there has been times when, you know, if Man City had kind of picked up half the points that they've let slip through the fingers through sort of not great play or defensively. You look at Brighton just recently, you look at Tottenham absolutely cruising at Tottenham 2-0 and then let it go to 2-2, could have possibly lost the game. But the thing you've got to worry about when Man City are on fire, they're on fire. But it just depends on which teams on both the teams, that's Newcastle and Man City, turn up on Saturday.
That's the thing with us. We've been on fire before and let 2-goal leads slip and ended up getting beat. So we have to show that up as well. But as I say, you know, it's a one-off, but we're just dropping below that top 6 as well. So we need to start picking up points. I know we've got 2 home games after this. I think it's Everton and Man United. So you know we could do with some points, and I'm quietly confident, as I say. And you know, as a player, it's all about confidence. And how can you not be confident being a Newcastle player after last night?
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Good to speak to you, Maurice, as ever. Let's do some more of the messages that you've been sending in. Andrew wants to know, Steve, because obviously you haven't been on this week until now, what you made of the referee in the Aston Villa FA Cup game at the weekend. There were some controversial incidents in that match, were there not?
There was, I mean, you look at the challenge from Digne. People say it's a red card. I think it's a red card, in my personal opinion. It's obviously subjective. People maybe it's not, maybe it's the force on the shin, stuff like that. There was the handball. I don't get that. I really don't get it, because it wasn't even close, was it, to being in the box? And then the goal, which was offside. I think that the official on that side, the assistant on that side, I think the view was there was 2 Aston Villa players in front of him along that line, so he just wasn't sure if Abrahams was offside or not, so you can't make that call. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, Chris Kavanagh's the one that gets the hammer for that. But I think, listen, he would say that he needed probably a bit more help from the lad on the sideline. Yeah, it wasn't. I think the word used was a word and then show. But it was just one of them things just didn't go their way. And I think it was one of them ones where you can understand the manager coming out and saying what he said. But obviously Chris Kavanagh's been given a breather this weekend. But yeah, I think when you looked at it, you were more than. There weren't like, if there were what I would suggest is subjective decisions, you can kind of get away with it. But these were very, very poor decisions.
You work with referees a lot, Steve. We've discussed this, and we discussed it a lot on Monday in particular. Referees who are used to having VAR and then referee a match without VAR. I think it's pretty clear, isn't it, that VAR affects the way they officiate, and then they're suddenly chucked into a game without it. That causes problems, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it can, because I suppose you've always got that comfort blanket if you want. You've always got that insurance if you want. I mean, you'd like to think that the referee would get it right. But this is why, the thing is, what you've got to look at it is, it's just as well, really, Newcastle won the game, because there would have been holy hell on. But this is why people complain about VAR. And this is why VAR was brought in, if you want. I mean, it's a prime example. But ultimately, for me personally, whilst I work for the Premier League, my personal opinion is I just think VAR was only brought in for clear and obvious errors. I think it's invading on that now. I think it's gone too far. It's trying to be too clinical. Whereas it's an entertainment business. But them tiny little kind of offsides, for me, I think they should be on. I'm going to go with the forwards on this one. But if I was to bring it right back to its natural state, if it was up to me, I would go with goal line technology and just let them get on with it. But that's just me.
Well, you've just contradicted yourself. I thought you said VAR was good.
No, I was saying that's why you brought.
I think it gets a lot. I think it gets so many things right, but it's almost when you bring the humans involved on the field that was so blatantly wrong decisions, and I think what Friday was trying to sort of say to you was, do you think there's an issue that because that game didn't have VAR that they should have brought a championship referee in? And his punishment for not playing, for getting things wrong, is to be dropped to the championship, where he'll won't have VAR again.
He hasn't been dropped to the championship. He's been given a.
Does he have a rest week?
No, I think he's gone. I think he's in the Europa League tonight, and then he's having the weekend where he hasn't got a game at all.
But quite often we saw Sunderland last year with, when it was a big game, seen as a big game, they sent referees from the Premier League to sort of handle it, which, it seems a strange thing to do, especially because we saw that happen, this hesitation that they have in those split seconds when you need a decision.
I wouldn't disagree with it. I think, they're just thinking because it was an all Premier League tie, they probably put a Premier League referee in it. Whereas the pace might have been a bit too quick for a championship referee. But I understand if you've got a big game in the championship and then they're bringing in a Premier League referee, I would stick with the top referee that's been refereeing in the championship.
Okay.
How many times do we hear fans in the championship bemoaning the quality of referee in the championship?
Couple of quick messages, and then we're going to turn our attention to rugby, both rugby union and rugby league, before the end of the show. Ray Johnson, thank you for your message. After the controversy around not having VAR at the weekend, when Newcastle should have had a penalty, we saw the other side of the coin last night when VAR gave that penalty for handball when the defender couldn't do anything about it, something that we did discuss earlier. Ray, thank you for your message. Paul's in Morpeth. He says, I sent a message on Monday night's show that I thought that we'd found a new Joe Linton in Voltemada, and I am really starting to believe it now. That is in terms of somebody who came as a striker and might end up playing in a different position. I mean, they're very different kinds of players, Voltemada and Joe Linton, but it could end up being a similar story there, Steve, couldn't it?
Well, he's hoping so. I mean, I cannot see Voltemada going around and absolutely smashing people, which Joe Linton does. And to be honest, he does it quite well. But I think just the technical ability of Voltemada is kind of above Joe Linton, but Joe Linton obviously he's got his strengths in other areas. But if he ends up being sort of somewhere near Joe Linton, then you think you're getting a striker, but obviously getting somebody like that who can undo defences with his technical ability, then happy days.